Hello, everybody. My name's James, and welcome to the final Planet FPL clash of the correspondents of the season. And it's a special one, not only because Rotation FPL, our Chelsea correspondent, won the final correspondent manager of the month, and not only because Jonny Pringle, FPL Pringle, won the Planet FPL correspondent mini league for the whole season, but their two teams happen to be playing in some sort of important game this weekend, which is now in Portugal. Let me first introduce you to Jonny Pringle, FPL Pringle, our Manchester City correspondent. How are you, Johnny?
Yeah, good. Thank you, James.
Good man. And let me introduce you to Ted Maw, a Rotation FPL, our Chelsea correspondent. How are you, Ted?
I'm doing well, mate. Not bad at all.
I started with you, Johnny, because I believe you're the designated home team actually for the weekend. And you're going, right?
Yeah, I am flying out Saturday morning.
Is this the Sheikh Mansour chartered and paid for job?
No, it's a bit of a long story, actually, but I'll try and keep it short. EasyJet put out some flights after that announcement, and basically no one's booked seats on that plane, because why would you for the free travel? But we thought, because it's so cheap, we might as well and actually stay over in case we actually do win it and we need a celebration. You don't want to be shipped back on a plane after the game. There's no way to spend an evening after winning Champions League.
The only thing is you might miss the party in Manchester, right?
Maybe. I think it'd be a bigger one in Porto if it happens.
Ted, will you be watching the game yourself? Will you be with Chelsea friends?
No, there's barely any Chelsea fans up here in the north, but yeah, I'll definitely be watching it, 100%. No chance I could get out to it though. Not a moment.
Nah. Are you feeling confident, Johnny?
Yeah, not like uber confident. I think I would have preferred to play Real Madrid. Chelsea are looking like the type of team who we tend to struggle against. So yeah, I wouldn't say uber confident, but yeah, I think I am.
Is there anything, do you think, psychologically in the fact that you've obviously played each other twice recently and Chelsea have won both games?
I don't think so. I think the obvious thing is that we haven't played our full strength team in either game. I think Ted would probably argue that Chelsea haven't played their full strength team in either game. But I think the fact that we've rotated the team heavily in both games means that we haven't shown our full hand yet. And I think that's maybe a psychological boost for us, is that Chelsea haven't sort of seen, or Tuchel hasn't seen, this full strength City side yet.
Thoughts on that, Ted? Any influence from the two games?
I think it's a big boost having won the last two. I think you could easily argue the last one, if Aguero scores that penalty, I mean, it could have easily been just so different. So maybe that will still be, in the City guys' minds thinking, we could have easily won that. If you had talked to me before the Arsenal game about this game, I would have been quietly confident about this. But after the last sort of few games, that I'm just nerves now. Nothing but nerves.
You've had a mad period, haven't you? You beat Madrid, and you won at the Etihad on the weekend. Top four looked absolute certainty. Then you lost to Arsenal on the Wednesday night, lost the FA Cup final, then won the big game against Leicester again, then lost at Villa. Yeah. And I saw you tweet at the weekend, come on you Spurs and that, mate. I ain't never going to forget that shit.
Yeah, it's been a wild couple of weeks. I don't know what on earth is going on. It's sort of the Chelsea way, though, isn't it? Just to make it as painful as possible for us, just to make us suffer, and then depend on. It always makes me gag saying it. Depend on Spurs to bail us out. That's just disappointing.
We can't even bail ourselves out. So I mean, Bale really did bail you out as well. Yeah. But the 3 defeats in the last 4, 2 teams at the moment, with respect to Arsenal and Villa, you really would not be expecting to lose to. Is that suddenly caused some concern?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, we've seen the same sort of problems that we've been seeing for the last sort of 6 months or whatever. I've sort of got to a point now where I'm sort of bored just talking about it, because I've said it so many times. But, the Arsenal game in particular was just dreadful. It was just painful to watch. It was so dull. But it's the same problems where we don't take our chances. We're not scoring the goals that we need to score, and we give teams an opportunity to come back into it. We shouldn't have conceded 2 to Villa, and we should have put way more away. But that's the position we get ourselves into, and it's just silly.
Are you, Johnny, concerned about competitiveness for City in any way, in the sense that the title's been won for a while, and we have to say congratulations for winning the Premier League again, but the competitive nature of City's game, other than the PSG games, for a long time, it's not really been there. Like, you've had sloppy results like Leeds at home, for example. Is that a concern for you in any way?
It was a concern, less so now. I think obviously the Brighton game, and what was the game we played before that? The Newcastle game, even though we won it, them two games were just all over the place. But to then go and spank Everton at the weekend, we really did put on a show. It was one of the best performances of the season. You're right in that the sort of competitive mentality might not be there, but I think the players are going into it on a high, confident. They seem focused. They seem like they really want it as well. Like, obviously, this is a lot of players' first time, the club's first time in a final. The players, they seem really up for it.
You need to worry about competitiveness in a Champions League final. It's going to be massive. Everyone's going to be up for it. It's like City guys going to want it so much, just like Chelsea.
Yeah.
No, fair point. Johnny, we normally struggle most weeks to predict your team. We can do it this week, can't we?
Yeah, I think I could name it for you, to be honest.
Please do.
Ederson, Walker, Stones, Diaz, Zinchenko, Rodri, Gundogan, Bernardo, Mahrez, De Bruyne, and Foden.
Who plays the false nine, or is it going to be two? Is it going to kind of be De Bruyne and Bernardo?
Yeah, one of the two.
I think the one that would surprise people, I think you came on with Aaron Lager before you went to Leicester, and we had a conversation then about maybe Raheem Sterling's not first choice anymore. And actually, since then, that's kind of, because of the form of Foden and Mahrez, that looks correct. The one that might surprise people there is that he'll pick Zinchenko over Cancelo, I think.
Yeah, sorry, tell a lie, but I said Rodri. That's probably the only 50-50 position, I think, actually, is Fernandinho or Rodri. I think I'd probably prefer Fernandinho, actually. I really don't know which one he'll play there.
I would have thought it'd be Rodri, no?
Maybe, yeah, but Fernandinho, just for his experience. I still think Fernandinho is better than Rodri. Even though he's so old. He's just the leader of the team now. He's just got so much nous as well. We've talked about how much of a shit house he is as well, so it's just going to help in the Champions League final.
I've got to say how wrong I was about Fernandinho. I thought he was completely past it, but he has been immense every game I've watched him. I'm so impressed with how good he is and how well he leads the team.
Yeah, he's putting himself into sort of legend status recently for his longevity. He's not in that bracket of, well, he's not in that era of Company, Toure, Silva, Aguero that were there when they won the first title. We signed him just after that, but he's done as much as anyone since then. But regarding the Zinchenko Cancelo question, James, I think Cancelo's just gone off the boil a little bit. He was brilliant, obviously, in that sort of January, February, March period where we sort of just won the league and ran away with it. But he sort of dropped off it a little bit. Struggled in both Dortmund or the first Dortmund game. And Zinchenko came in, and Zinchenko just offers you utmost control. He's always up there for pass completion stats, passes. Just seems to keep the ball so well and keep us ticking over, and it spreads to the rest of the team. I think anyone who watched the PSG game probably saw how much of an effect he actually had coming on for Cancelo.
Yeah, that's right.
And he just seems to have cemented his place in the big games now.
I feel like Cancelo. We spoke about this as well about 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks or so ago, the Cancelo performance against United, and he regretted not playing Kyle Walker in that game. And I agree. I think since then he's had a little bit of a psychological dip where during the winter months kind of went unchallenged. He would have, I think at that point, it would have been in everybody's kind of team of the season at right back or left back. Either take your pick. I agree. I think Zinchenko plays left back actually.
Yeah.
Ted, what do you see as the weaknesses in that team? Are there any?
It's always hard with City. I think there's always a chance that Pep might try and get too smart or something. And I think that's something we can possibly expose. I mean, obviously in the last game when they had Mendy at left wing back, he got absolutely roasted by James. I think there's going to be some mind games there. Obviously, Mendy's not going to play. And I still don't know if James will be at right wing back. But I think we've got a chance there to sort of expose their higher line that some other teams would tend to drop a bit deeper against us, and that is something that will suit us more than anything else.
What do you fear in that team?
Can I say everything?
Well, you can, yeah. But is there something particularly you think, De Bruyne coming off the front, etc.? What worries you most about playing against City?
City can move the ball up the pitch very quickly, and they can really attack from the front foot really well. I'm worried about our central midfielders being pressured on the ball. I expect it'll be Kante alongside either Jorginho or Kovacic. I'm guessing Jorginho. If they start putting a lot of pressure on him, if they start overloading the middle, I can see that getting worrying. I think they're definitely going to try and break our ability just to recycle the ball via our centre-backs. And then once you start getting pressure on the centre-backs, I worry about mistakes. And that's always a possibility with our defence. And that's going to be scary for us. But it should be a good game, hopefully.
What's your team lineup you expecting then, Ted?
It should be Mendy in goal.
We saying he's fit?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Because that's another scary, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Right wing back, right centre back, it's either going to be Azpilicueta or James. That's a whole separate question. Who goes where? Thiago Silva, Rudiger, should be Chilwell. Midfield, I think Kante will be fit, even if he's only like 75%. He's got to play.
Agreed.
Kovacic, Jorginho's up for grabs. I'm guessing Jorginho on the basis of fitness. And also Kovacic is debatable how good he is when he's being pressured. The front three is just Mount will play.
Yep.
I wouldn't necessarily pick him, but I think Werner will start, and I'll go for Ziyech. I'll go Ziyech. It could be any of
or Havertz.
Yeah, exactly. It could be any of those three. I'd like to see Havertz up front instead of Werner, ideally, but I don't think that'll happen.
Can you explain why?
I think it'll suit our game. I really like how we play when we've got Havertz leading the line. I think it suits our style a lot more. Werner, bless him, he tries, but I can't take seeing him walk off sides and some of the chances he's missed. I don't know how many chances.
You don't want another VAR moment, do you?
I know. It's actually just a joke at this point. It's every single game, without failure. I don't know how many chances we're going to get in this game, and we need to take them. And I've got more confidence in Havertz taking them. He'll still do the sort of the all-round game where he'll help create chances. He'll put a bit of fear in the defenders, and he'll help our defensive game.
It's quite an interesting dynamic in the sense that I think, like what Jonny said, probably 9 of the City 11 we can go, yep. There's the small calls, Rodri, Fernandinho, Zinchenko, Cancelo, but for a change, we generally know it. Yours is even little things like kind of talking about Azpilicueta and James, and the front players are quite difficult to call. You're even saying Jorginho, Kovacic might be a 50-50. You didn't even sound certain about Chilwell at left back.
I'm sure he will play.
Yeah.
There's always a chance it'll be Alonso. I think Alonso might feature at some point, but yeah, I'd say it's like 90%, 95%. It'll be Alonso. Chilwell. God.
What do you think the thinking's been with James playing centre back? Because I thought it was something just for Vardy, possibly, but it doesn't necessarily look like that.
Yeah, I think originally it was definitely that's why he came in. If you look at if you just watch the game, or if you just look at the heat map, something like that, you'll see that the right wing back really sticks to the line, and the right centre back will push up and have a sort of a right back sort of feel to the way he plays his game. Apart from in the final third when they tend to stay a bit more central than like a fullback would do. I think with James, you've got the ability of he'll still push up very happily. He has got an ability to sort of drive at the box, take a long shot. You know, how fitting would it be? He started his season with a banger against Brighton. How fitting would it be to finish the same way? But he's also got the ability to track back really quickly, and that's something that sometimes scares me about Azpilicueta, because he likes to push up as well, and you'll find him on the edge of the box. You'll find him higher than James, but he's not necessarily as fast at tracking back. At least he can't do it for 90 minutes at the rate you'd expect James to. So yeah, maybe going forwards we'll have James at right centre back, so we get that sort of extra dimension with still having the knowledge that he can pull back. But again, it comes back to that thing I'm saying, that City can move the ball so quickly it still kind of scares me that we can get caught out that way. So maybe he'll just go safer and put Azpilicueta there and say, you know what, let's just sort of first half, let's chill and see if we can grab something in the second half.
I think the games Azpilicueta's had a problem there is I think back like to the FA Cup final last season, like Aubameyang, that ball over the top and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not so much of an issue with City. I think you'd be surprised. So I think it could well be that they just switch back. Jonny, from Chelsea's attacking players, who do you must have an instinct of, I don't want him to play, or are you just not fussed in any way?
No, I think there is. I think Mount, Havertz and Pulisic would be the front three I wouldn't want to see.
Okay. Because
that's my ideal front three.
Yeah. Werner and Ziyech, for the reasons Ted basically stated about Werner. And just Pulisic and Mount are just them type of nippy players with good movement and fast, but sort of effective against us, and Havertz dropping in. Diaz and Stones probably want to mark a classic centre forward, and Havertz isn't that. So, yeah, I'd say I'd be more fearful of a Chelsea front three with Havertz, Pulisic and Mount, yeah.
What do they do in that circumstance now then? Because I feel like since the first time my team played you, when kind of Laporte went chasing Harry Kane, that kind of going with the forward kind of stopped a little bit. So what do they do now in that case that Havertz plays up front? Will one of them go with, or do they just sit off and hope that Fernandinho or Rodri, whoever's in that area, deals with the problem?
I don't know, because I'm trying to think of an instance of where we've played against a false nine, because it's only really used by teams that are the top quality teams. I don't know. I'd hope that they just let him go into midfield and let Fernandinho deal with him. Like literally deal with him.
I would think in a game like this where the importance is so much, don't let the space be in behind. If it's in front, it's in front. But don't let runners kind of amount or Pulisic go into the vacated space would be the big fear. So I think they'd let that happen in there, which could give you, Ted, more dominance against City than what most people would enjoy. Or do you visualize the game, Ted, where you'll have 35% of the ball or something?
I think both can be pretty true. I mean, I think we're really well suited to play against City, in all truth. Again, before these sort of tough games where we lost to Arsenal, whatever came up, City was the sort of game I was looking at and thinking, you know what, we can do a job against a team like that. I'm much happier to watch us play them than, you know, a team like Aston Villa, even though obviously we're not more likely to beat City. It just more suits our style. There's a lot of mistakes that, not mistakes, but there's areas that we can target against City that I think aren't necessarily options when you get into the team that's going to sit back and sit deep. I'm reasonably happy about this.
Interesting. Jonny, centre forward position. Are you going to try and fill it this summer?
Yeah, I think we have to. I think we've played well in the Champions League with a false nine, even in the league. I think you could argue our best team is with a false nine, but I think there's arguments as to how sustainable that is long term. I think sometimes you do just need a clinical number nine. So we've seen how effective Aguero has been for us and how many goals he scored. I think we do need one. Like I say, I think I have doubts about how sustainable this false nine system is and how long you can get away with it for.
Is it Kane?
I hope so.
Oh, fuck off, mate.
I know. I know. Last time we came on, and I said I think we'll sign Haaland because Dortmund looked like we're going to miss out on the Champions League. There was a release clause next year, which meant that Dortmund might be willing to take 100 or so mil this year, but that's gone really quiet. Especially now Dortmund have got Champions League. They seem more inclined to sell Sancho this season, meaning they probably wouldn't sell Haaland. And I think if City miss out on him, they won't hang about. They won't just leave it a season. I think they'll go for someone. And it does look like they're going for Kane. I think Kane would probably be a better fit than Haaland instantly. I think, like we say, a number 9 that can drop in the way that Kane does would be so effective in our team. Kane would be absolutely brutal for City.
I think we're aware, mate.
Yeah. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. I've listened to your podcast, James, and I agree with you that I have my doubts over whether it will actually happen. I think it's I think it's definitely more likely that he stays, because I think you're right in that Levy will probably want upwards of 150 mil. City will probably only want to go to 100 mil. If they can meet somewhere in the middle, then it might happen, but I don't know whether it will.
I think my opinions softened on that quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. I think at first my attitude was I don't see anyone paying the money that Levy will want, but I think certain things I've seen, you've obviously seen the interview with Gary Neville and whatnot, makes me think, yeah, these talks may have already happened. Like the deal might even already be in place. It might even be a case of waiting for the Champions League final to go by before there's some sort of announcement. I wouldn't be surprised if the talks had already happened. Or Ted, are you in for Kane?
We definitely want a striker this summer. There's a number of names on our list. Kane is one of them. We're not going to sign Kane. Likewise, Haaland. We really want Haaland. We're not going to be able to sign Haaland. I think the most likely is going to be Lukaku, especially with Conte on his way out. That might be sped up, but from what I'm hearing, it's way more likely that if it does happen, it would happen after the Euros, and decisions will be made there. But there's a lot of players we're looking at. Sancho as well, because we are very, very likely to move to a formation where we use more wingers. Sancho is going to be right up on our hit list.
So what does that mean if you go and buy another forward this summer? What does that mean for Werner?
So if we were to buy another forward, I think we'd be likely looking at a 4-2-4 formation, and it would be Lukaku on, or whoever came in theoretically, on the right, with sort of Werner, Havertz on the left. And you could be looking at rotation. There could be a lot of sort of jostling for places there.
Lukaku's definitely going to be available. He's an interesting one. Could you see that being a fullback option for yourself, Jonny? I know he played for United and that, but
I don't think that matters because I don't think he likes United. So
no, apparently not.
Yeah, there's been rumours about him being a fullback option. I think the instant reaction of many fans with Lukaku is like, oh, he's a bit of a donkey. You wouldn't do well at City with his intricate football and stuff. But I think he'd score plenty of goals for us. I wouldn't be.
Funny, I think I'd score plenty of goals for you, mate.
Yeah, maybe. But,
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think Lukaku would probably be on the list.
Lukaku's Man United career got killed by the manager he had at the time. He's improved a lot into Milan, actually, for those who haven't seen. I can definitely see that at your end, actually, Ted. I think that's possibly a suitable solution for yourself. If I just can't see Levy doing business with you. They hate each other, don't they?
Absolutely no chance.
Yeah, just they won't do business with each other. I can't see Kane going, and I can't see Haaland choosing you, but that does keep coming back around, the mention of Haaland. But I think Johnny's right. I don't think that transfer will happen this summer.
At best it's 1%.
I think I can see Haaland going next year for his release clause to Real Madrid or United, maybe. If United don't get a striker this summer and Cavani goes next summer, I can see him maybe going there, which begs the question, should City really be ignoring Haaland? Should we be just go and getting someone for a year? But I think they want to just go and get one this summer at any cost, even if it does mean Haaland going to United next summer.
If you get Kane, who can I have in reverse, mate? Who am I allowed?
Mendy.
Brilliant, thanks. He probably would get in our team, but God, anyone else I can have?
I think
can I have Laporte?
The two that have been maybe. I think the three. Well, say two. I think the three players that I don't think they will leave, but are on the maybe will leave are Laporte, Sterling, and Jesus. Because they're at a point where you could get a lot of money for them, and they're not critical to the team at the moment. I don't think they will go, and I think City would rather do a deal without swapping a player. That was what one of my questions was going to be. How much do you think a realistic fee for Kane would be if the two parties were to settle on a fee?
It's got to be over 100.
Yeah, definitely.
I think probably 110, 115 with add-ons for Champions League wins, that kind of thing.
I was thinking about 120. I don't know. I think Levy would want even more than that.
All these deals have add-ons these days. But I can imagine the add-ons being that would go up to, say, 140 or something like that, possibly. But the basic, whether it's spread over 3-4 years of payments or whatever, would probably be 110, 115, I think, probably.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind that. We discussed on the last podcast about how City, even though we've spent a lot of money, haven't really spent a load of money on one player. But I'd be okay with spending that on if it was Harry Kane. I really like Kane as a player. One of my favourite players that doesn't play for City. So
You're all right, John.
I really
Fucking hell,
like him.
mate.
I really like him at City.
I've got it already. All right, I've got it. What's happened to Raheem Sterling then? Or is it just that Mahrez and Foden have been so good?
Yeah, but Mahrez and Foden have been so good, so they've just been, you can't drop them for games. Mahrez would have been on that potentially sell list. He probably would have been front of the queue to go because he's 30, 2 years left in his contract, but he's been so good. He's come up clutch in so many games. I mean, to score 3 goals across semi-finals against PSG is, a mean feat. But yeah, Sterling just hasn't been able to break past them two. Does just look short of confidence. Just looks a shadow of a player he was. But I just hope he bounces back. We've just got to back him. I really like Sterling, and like I say, I think it is just confidence with him. Just looks really desperately short of it.
I don't think there's any debate on this, but controversial question: if you were picking the England squad, Johnny, would Raheem Sterling be in it?
Yeah.
He'd definitely be in your 23.
Yeah. He's one of England's best attackers. Maybe not on current form, but if he was to get it back over a 2-3 game period, it'd be one of the first names on the team sheet.
I mean, Southgate's fiercely loyal to him as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he still starts the first game, actually. Another one definitely will is Mason Mount, Ted. Would it be fair to say your player of the year?
Oh, yeah. It's not even close. Almost a little bit worrying how dependent on we are now on him performing and creating chances for us. But yeah, he's just stepped up so much this year, yet again.
Is that where he's playing now as kind of one of two behind a front man? I know you're quite likely to probably change system next season. Tuchel spoke about this already. But is that where he should play as a 10? Or do you see him with a bit more experience dropping in as more of a central midfielder with age?
I think he's definitely better at 10 currently. For me, ideally, I'd love to have him drop a bit deeper because I think he could do a serious job and free up an attacking space, which in our current formation, I'd really like to see. But going forwards, he's been so influential in creating chances and giving us a different dimension that we don't otherwise have. There's no chance I'd move him at the moment. He's been so good. There's a lot of talk about, has Tuchel been able to like bring out the best of him? Has he been the one that sort of created this Mason Mount that we see now? I think that's a bit harsh because he's just developing so quickly based on what I saw him at sort of Derby level, first year Chelsea to now. He's just constantly developing and maturing as a player. It's really good to see.
What's your thoughts on Lampard now, 4 or 5 months on? I don't mean in terms of what he means to Chelsea emotionally. I know that. I mean, in terms of your thoughts of him as a manager now, reflecting on it, having had Tuchel for a few months.
I think it was very harsh to sack him at that point. Looking back now on what Tuchel's given us in terms of how well he's done, I don't think anyone could have predicted we would have stepped up this much under him. I think, I'm not going to say we're overperforming, but I think it's an improvement that no one expected. And because of that, you can't look back and say, it was the wrong decision, because we've improved so much. There's no arguing about that. What could have Lampard done going forwards? I don't know. I'm far more likely to defend him than anyone else, probably. I know a lot of people really don't rate him, but looking back on it, it's the right decision, but maybe we got a bit lucky in that sense.
Do you think he'd do a good job at a Palace or something if they were looking at him?
It is going to make or break his career. If I was him, I would not be brave enough to take over there because I think it's such a difficult task with the number of players out of contract, the age of the squad. I don't know how much is coming through the youth academy. I can't imagine it's too much. I think that's going to be a ridiculously hard job. And I think if you then go down, no matter how hard the job he's walking into, if he then gets relegated as manager, that could seriously hurt his reputation as a manager.
Is there, Johnny, is there any doubt that should you win Saturday night, that Sunday morning at the after party, Pep goes, that's it for me? Is there any danger of that at all?
Maybe like 1%, but no, he's got a contract. He usually sees out his contract. Don't know whether you saw that video of him smoking a cigar, singing away.
Yeah, we've seen it.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to leave. He just constantly bangs on about how much he loves it here, how much for people above him make him feel welcome, how much he loves the city, the fans. Yeah, I think he's here for another 2 years, at least.
It's interesting because when we first spoke a couple of years back, we always kind of had this, we don't see Guardiola being at City for 8, 9, 10 years. We never really thought that would happen. I think we kind of assumed that from the 3 years at Barca, the 3 years at Bayern Munich. But we're about to go into year 6 or so, and no real sign that it's particularly slowing down. The only thing that kind of made me ask the question was obviously how emotional he was on the pitch, talking about like Aguero last week. It felt like I don't know, something in him kind of felt like the end of a moment for him. And it could just be he's gutted that his brilliant centre forward's no longer going to play for you. But just wondered if you thought there was any doubt from that perspective on him.
No, like I say, he just seems so happy. Like you say, it is strange because I think we thought when he first signed, we'll get 3 years out of him. I remember when he signed his first extension, everyone was buzzing. When he signed this one, ironically, I remember we were at a bit of a crossroads, weren't we? And we were thinking, oh, like, should we or shouldn't we? I would have been happy about it. And the first game after his contract was extended, we lost 2-0 to Spurs. And I was thinking, oh, what have we done? Should we have let him go at the end of his contract? But
it's so mad to hear you say that.
The way he's transformed it. I think you just have to hold your hands up and just admit you were wrong. Like I never obviously, I've always said from the moment Pep joined, I will never want him to leave. But that was the closest I got to thinking, should we be looking elsewhere? But the way that he's transformed the team, the way that he's changed his style of play and just taken us right to the top again, has just made my bond with him sort of even bigger now, to the point where I would probably never doubt him because he has got to that position and brought us back to the top. I can't see him going anywhere. I'm not Aguero dynamic. Sorry, him crying. I think that just the fact that he's there in a City shirt during the celebrations and crying over Aguero leaving, to see that as a City fan, it's just genuinely bonkers. To think you just can't take it for granted. We are so lucky to have this guy who just seemingly just loves City at the moment.
You have that moment whenever you watch a moment like that. Do you think of Nicky Weaver? Does that happen a lot? Do you think of 1999 and Gillingham in the League One playoff final?
Yeah, it does get referred to a lot. There's a common debate about what the bigger goal was, Dickoff's goal v Gillingham or Aguero's v QPR. But yeah, you do sometimes think on that. Think about sort of moments like that and think genuinely how mad it is.
For yourself, Ted, you got any memories of 2012? That sounds really harsh. You're not 12. How old are you, Ted?
21, yeah.
21. But you were quite young, right?
I was 12, yeah.
Yeah. Were you drinking?
No. That was that was a nervy night. But absolutely incredible. I still watch highlights of it, every couple of months, I'd say. It's such a fantastic night. And I'm kind of thankful that if we were to win on Saturday, we wouldn't be in a horrible kit. So I could watch highlights of that one as well.
Do you think there's more pressure, Ted, on City because you've won it before? I know the current player and the manager hasn't and stuff, but psychology as a football club, you have got the T-shirt, so to speak. Does that make it bigger? And we know City will be favourites with the bookies and stuff anyway. Does that just put more pressure on them?
I think there's going to be some pressure for it, but I don't know if it's going to be a major contributing factor. I think there's enough other factors going on the night that might override that. There's going to be pressure, but it's also going to cause more determination to win it, because it would be massive. It would be massive for both clubs, let's be honest. I'm sure it will be a factor. I don't know if I'll consider it a major one.
What do you think, John? Because we've said this so much, haven't we? I think particularly after Centurion year, you'll constantly just get judged on the Champions League. Or is the fact that you've got to a final, has that eased it? That's kind of broken the first barrier.
Yeah, I think the fact we obviously first of all, got to semi-finals under Guardiola. We hadn't done that yet. And then managed to just smash past that barrier straight away and get to a final. Just a massive hoodoo off our back. I think this is just the one that still gives us fans sort of like the butterflies in the stomach again. Gets you really nervous thinking about it on Saturday. because we've obviously won everything now, the domestic trophy so many times, you do sort of take it for granted. Like the League Cup again that we won this year was sort of like, oh great, we've won the Carabao Cup again. And then you almost, when you see in Leicester win the FA Cup, you learn not to sort of take it for granted. You see how special it is for them fans. And I think the Champions League would be that for us now. That would sort of take us back to 2011, 2012, when we were winning the FA Cup and the league for the first time. I think that, like I said, a lot of City fans, the way we feel when we win a trophy, has sort of softened a bit. But I think it really will mean something to us if we do win it on Saturday.
Do you think it could negatively impact you for next season if you win?
In terms of sort of like that mentality drop,
to go again.
Yeah, because I talked about it after we won it in the Centurion season. Liverpool will be so hungry for it. Will we be able to go again? And fair enough, we did. But then we couldn't go for it a third time, and Liverpool was so hungry. So yeah, maybe. But I'd hope we wouldn't make the mistake of not reinforcing. Like I say, if we were to happen to sign Kane, you will be stronger. And I don't know. I think, like, let's say if you did sign Harry Kane, you've got 2 years of Pep with peak Harry Kane and peak Kevin De Bruyne. Can you drop? Can you drop a level? Don't know.
What price would you not pay for Kane opening day of the next season in FPL? You go, no, I'm not paying that. What price would it have to be?
What's the most expensive a player's been in FPL? Was it Henry at 14?
Van Persie was 14 as well, wasn't he?
And Ronaldo, I think. Well, there was 3 players, yeah.
Probably anything over that.
Do you pay 14? No doubts, Harry Kane.
And you have to see what the fixtures are.
Do they matter for you, mate?
Maybe not.
Ted, any thoughts on that?
Maybe the only reason it'd be like, let's say if we had like, I don't know, Chelsea away and United away in the first 2 fixtures, and then you were thinking of a wild card. But yeah, you'd have to price him high. If Kane was at City at like 11.5, 12 mil, his ownership would be so high. They have to price him high to make it a decision, like you say.
Ted, any thoughts on that?
I would be reluctant to pay 14 mil for a new signing in a new club. That's normally resigned for a established sort of hero. Yeah, he would be immense. Well, I mean, he's established at City. He's established at Spurs, but maybe he doesn't fit into the City system. I am sure he would, but you can't say for sure. So yeah, maybe like, I don't know, 13 mil, and I'll be licking my lips.
What would be absolutely classic is if, like, let's say we started the first game of the season and he scored a hat trick or something, and then the next game Pep benched him for Jesus after everyone thought shit, piled him in the team, and he got benched straight away.
Yeah, he's got a hat trick away opening day, tough game like Leeds away or something. Yeah, and then he's been benched at home to someone rubbish like Tottenham in game 2. Where if he joined you, Ted, hypothetically, you wouldn't pay the same for him, would you? As you would if he played for City?
I wouldn't pay the same, mainly because of our record with strikers. But yeah, I'd still pay a hell of a lot. I think it'd be fantastic at Chelsea. If I was to pick a striker right now, it's him 100%. Also, we're never going to have him.
Is there a burden on Chelsea forwards in some way when they join? It's too many good players have gone there and been shit, mate.
We've had so many different coaches, so many different managers. We've had crowds in the stadium and no crowds, and none of them are working. I can't figure out what it is. There can't be a curse on the club or something. I mean, we've got one, but that's with the wind down. But like, I can't comprehend it. That's why I would like Kane out of anyone. Yeah, I've got no idea what it is.
If you got your money back for Werner this year, would you be happy with that?
Oh, that's a really mean question.
Let's say Liverpool wanted to pay. Let's say Salah went, Liverpool, yeah, we'll give you the money that we're going to pay for him last year. Would you take it?
Possibly, yes, for the fact that we could then have Havertz and say Lukaku up front with no stress. But I still think Werner's going to be a very, very good forward. And if he was to leave us, he would be a very, very good forward wherever he'd go. So I'm a bit reluctant to say anything on that.
So priority I'm guessing for both clubs, ironically, the 2 teams in the Champions League final, the priority this summer is to buy a centre forward. That's what I think I'm hearing. Is there anywhere else you feel you particularly need the strengthening, Ted?
The club's really good to sign a centre back. I'm not 100% sure that's necessarily what we need, but it's a need, just not a high one for me. We'll also be looking at a defensive mid. I know Declan Rice is obviously very high up on our radar, but some members of the board are looking towards sort of France for a player. They could get a bit cheaper. I don't know any names off the top of my head. And then also a winger if we do move to a formation that are more dependent on them.
So I've heard Hudson-Odoi might be off. Is that right?
I mean, there's always going to be all sorts of rumours. Bayern Munich would obviously love to have him, I think. And again, I could see him going over there and doing a very good job. I really rate him highly. There's some talk about, maybe it could be like a 2-year loan or something. And then I think Chelsea fans like the idea of that because, maybe you get Sanchez coming over the opposite way. Not Sanchez, Sancho. And then you'd get Hudson-Odoi back after 2 years and you'd be brilliant or whatever. To be honest, if he goes out on loan, I don't see him ever coming back.
And for yourself, Johnny, where are City looking to strengthen this summer? Or is it just all the money's going into a forward?
I think that is like the big one. It's just finally Aguero's replacement, centre forward. As ever, left back, problem position. Zinchenko just seems to come around though and solve it every few months. But I think if someone pops up, you need to buy sort of like a steady left back, because Mendy's just not up to it. And then we've been linked a lot with Jack Grealish, and I think a lot of City fans think, where would he fit in? And I don't think he would immediately fit in anywhere. But with, say, Gundogan, who's 30, Mahrez is 30, De Bruyne is 29, Sterling obviously over his form. He'd just be a sort of like a, for now, just sort of he could fill any of them positions. And let's say if one of them old players was to just massively drop off a cliff or get a bad injury, then Grealish could then nail down a spot in the team. I think that wouldn't be a bad signing. That'd be a smart move, I think.
I think Jack Grealish should be a bad buy. I'd heard months ago that there was a case to be made that the deal might have been done, but I don't know if the Kane stuff's possibly put that. Could you see yourself buying both Grealish and Kane?
I don't know. It depends how much you get Grealish. It depends how much you get Grealish for. But when we're talking like 200 million already, aren't we, for the two?
I think so. Yeah.
So
Got to be, mate. Guys, pleasure. I wish you both the very best of luck for the weekend, and Johnny, obviously, safe journey for yourself too. Let's have predictions then, Johnny. As designated home team, you can go first, mate.
Head says like a boring 0-0, but heart says I'm going to go 2-0. City to get a goal, dominate the game, and then get one second half to finish it off.
Ted?
Yeah, I think it's a similar story to me. My head says that it could be a really tough game, and I might lean towards City. But I mean, it's a Champions League final. I'm not going to follow my head. I'll go with my heart. 1-0 Chelsea. We'll scrape it.
My head tells me this might go all the way to penalties and might be 0-0. My heart tells me, and it's not even a dig on you, Ted, I just feel like City are fated to win it. But I do think it could be horribly tight. I think it might be that defences win out. I think you're capable, Ted, of absorbing the pressure if the game becomes like that. I think, as Johnny said, you sort of thing probably don't want to play against from that perspective. I wouldn't be surprised if it went all the way to pens. Could just ask, interestingly, go on, Johnny.
I think I would rather spontaneously combust on the spot than it go to penalties on Saturday.
Our last two have gone to penalties. I don't want to sit through that again.
Johnny, if
I'm in the stadium in our first Champions League final and it goes to pens, I don't think I'm making it out alive.
Johnny, if it goes to pens, who's winning?
Depends who's in net for Chelsea.
If Mendy's in goal.
Oh, I don't know. I think I'd have to think about the takers. I'd back us. I think we've got a strangely good record for a team who are pathetic at penalties in normal games.
Your shootout record's very good.
A shootout record is unbelievable, which makes me think like, if we were going to lose one, please don't let it be the Champions League final. But yeah, I think I'd back us in the shootout, to be fair.
And Ted, would you fancy it if it went to pens?
I think if it goes to pens, we are 100% guaranteed that Jorginho will miss his penalty. But yeah, I'll back us. We've got quite a few good penalty takers in our squad.
Isn't Jorginho your best penalty taker?
See, it depends what you mean by best.
You just don't like his style, do you?
I think his penalties are awful. He'll take our penalties, and that may well be why he starts the game, just so we've got our first choice penalty taker on the pitch. But I mean, he's taken, what was it, 9 in the league? I think he scored 7, and I think he's like 2-1 in the Champions League. That's not a fantastic record, just be honest.
He missed one against us in the shootout in the League Cup in 2019.
If he didn't start, would it be Mount, do you think, Ted?
Werner, maybe?
I think Mount took one at Southampton, didn't he?
Yeah, I
can't think of any others.
I know Werner's got a pretty good record this season. I think he's 3 from 3. I've got a feeling Mount's 2 from 2. I'm not sure. I'd have to read into it.
How have you finished top 4 with Jorginho as your top goal scorer, mate?
Is it? I feel like I saw something. It's like the first time since like 1904 or something like that a team's finished in the top 4 of top goal scorer on 7 goals. Something mental like that. I don't know how we've done it. It is crazy. We need to take our chances, for God's sake. It's just painful at this point.
I wish you both luck, lads. Thank you very much for your time. You can follow Jonny on Twitter at FPL Pringle, and you can follow Ted at Rotation FPL. Be nice to the loser. Congratulate the winner. The boys will be back, fingers crossed, for Correspondent Week if they haven't self-combusted if the game goes to penalties on Saturday night. Be back for Correspondent Week in late July, early August. We'll have all the correspondents back on ahead of the 2021-22 Premier Leagues. And a thanks to all of the Planet FPL correspondents during the season. Top work, guys. Enjoy the weekend, guys. Very best of luck to the both of you. Cue music, please, man, child.